mime zewe deje jere se time kembe wongbo jambe tebo mali jomze sawe kanjen kebe zoje loza Bande zawe lama rinpo che daso chi uro bende denjo kaji chenpyo go ne che so kuzon toji ngui zhu zedo bande zawe lama rinpo daso ningara bende denjo la kaji choda temo ngödu zedo su bande zawe lama rinpo taso ningara bende dejo la kari chanju ningbi ban denpa ju masan jume shera paru maje manga namge ngobo sozo rani yishi tezo ngebe yongla chanze lo deya ta gade para samga Bode yezo ha deya ta gade para sanga de bode yezo deya ta gade para bode yezo ha gere tongda jajo shewa da mede Soje jonan la janjo mando dane japso dage chuju jibe sonam je dola benje sanje doba sho Shoda soje jonan la janjo mando dane japso dage chuju jibe sonam je dola benje sanje doba sho sinje tabje Topsallarına yanında böyle sanki kuvarım bir tabaca. Teyze de tabii sen bu konu şansı seçemezsin seyden istemeyiz.
Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta, altruistic motivation, we should participate in this discourse on emptiness.
다 슈도르 대야 거사 더 티바서보다 저 저도 뭐도 셔라지고는 지고다 tenjulo 타지고는 뭐 지금 말이죠. 어디마 탑이 더 셔라고 이와도 뭐 해야 되죠. 거기 최사도 돼. 연하다 타지는 뒤에 테러도 som도 어디 뭐 키우러 어디야.
그 양조선 두다 오마저 가르쳐버렸게. 이 고마지 당고데 두다 오마저가 제외나.
두다 뭐som세나 셔라고 지고라. 팀을 동이도 셔고 말다.
아, no.
싫어 맞으이나.
No.
동의도 뭐 티버스고 저시 탑말지 싫어하고는 제가 메시거라.
No. Just to recapitulate a little bit, within Buddhist philosophical systems of thought, dukkha, siddhanta, or tenets, in the lower Buddhist schools of thought, they don't necessarily use the term emptiness or shunyata. They do use anatma or selflessness. Okay? And so there are different levels of types of selflessness, if you will. But from Prasangika Madhyamika school of thought, the highest Buddhist school of thought, regardless of what schools of thoughts you belong to or the vehicles, yanas, you must cultivate the wisdom realizing emptiness or shunyata, because that is necessary for nirvana, freedom from samsara, and that's needed for enlightenment or Buddhahood. So in terms of the wisdom gone beyond, from Prasangika schools of thought, there is no distinction between, the what we call Theravadin Ayana or the Mahayana. The wisdom is the same. That said, the difference between the yanas, vehicles, from Prasangika Madhyamika point of view, has to do with method practice or upaya, skillful means. In terms of skillful means, there's a lot of difference between, the Theravadin yan, if that's what we can call it, and the Mahayana or the Bodhisattva yan.
그래서 대대들 파는 편한지 렉소서 지인데 다 인제 셈보다 정신 쓰면서 답이 샤티 디부티 바셔용 렉소서 지 유튜브 뭐이 봐이나 많은 편한지 드무고 지인바 떨동이다 비셔라니 세시가 드무고 지인노 줄라마야 특조라마 사본셔라니 성지시지마다 시 정신선의 파에 싸운다고 동의도 싫어하네 맞다 송소 또 먹고 발래 정신선의 성지 최단지지 싸운다고写的 시진 시진라 세 파바시게 용시 모두 전에 쉐바다로 되는 시다이 고시제 동의도에 쉐라니 팀밀라여라 시다 고시제 인제 시부터 미미시 니아갈람디 시다 고는지 시다 고면이 소스 어디라다 거기서 지르지르다니 거기서 푸디를 가르치고 파디를 가르치고 들으시고 모두 파디를 푸디지르셔 파디 머리를 와이드 푸디 머리를 되게 파디 지는 거리스 마디 가르치게 말스 머리는 다리 가르치는 메나 근데 파코는 지르 잡지르는 푸디 Mad morning in a pretty giri was just a tizzle and the pre reg the mad ziggies. But then I hit that the share of the Tibasunga Tumori, Tikea Morris. Tatiba says with the Jesu carnation and Tajo and Jesus was the soldiers of the Jigo juries. But this or that.
As Krishna read from the text and explained that ordinarily speaking, when we try to sort of establish the lineage, it usually goes with paternal lineage, isn't it? And it usually is not to do with the lineage from the mother's side, right? So in the same way, the wisdom is called mother-like wisdom, right? And so that is a common cause of all the spiritual children of the three yanas, right? Because the wisdom realizing emptiness from Prasangika Madhyamika point of view is must to realize nirvana, for both Sharvakas and Pratika Buddhas, these two children, and it's also a necessity for bodhisattvas to be enlightened. So that is the common cause. The mother would be the same, in a sense. But what can differentiate between the Theravadin that's today's terminology, and Mahayana is in terms of upaya or skillful means of method practice, tap in Tibetan. So what really exclusively defines Mahayana or Bodhisattvayana is cultivating great compassion, Mahakaruna, wishing all beings to be free from suffering its causes. And Bodhicitta, Bodhisattva's attitude or state of mind, seeking enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings without discriminations. So great compassion and bodhicitta are skillful means which are exclusive to defining Mahayana or the Bodhisattva Yana. Whereas the wisdom is just the same. There is no difference there.
Oh, the Kung of the Jew Lama Sundua. Tizo Lama Sawan Tizo Lama said the Karsa Sanju Sem the Kanji. Sawan Sheriff said that because the Sheriff that the sensation in Sorge, but it's also there the Domoko, the Domo, Jidan, the Chiward. Who did that 10 years ago, maybe. Because she had Ranji Mezena and then the crap is Pesha. Tony Mato Mang Shavara, she had the Tony Dogma. So the 10 years ago, my winter. Tibas Bakangi, Rajima Tawala, Tony Maton Toya Marcia, 10 years ago, tomorrow, maybe. Do reward.
So in other words, great compassion, Mahakaruna, the altruistic mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, these are skillful means, and metaphorically speaking, these are like a father through whom we trace the lineage of Mahayana, Mahayana beings. And the wisdom is called mother-like because, going with ancient Indian examples, if a king borns a child with a mother or queen, so that's regarded as a royal child, isn't it? If a Brahmin father is going to have a child with the same mother, that's going to be Brahmin priest, not going to be royal king. So the lineage is traced paternally. So in that sense, we're using that metaphor here, that great compassion, bodhicitta are father-like, that defines specifically, right? Bodhisattvas, the Mahayana being, and the wisdom is the same for both the Theravada and Mahayana. So some of the sources quoted in the text are Uttara Tantra, a sublime continuum. Again, my footnote is not a tantra, Uttara Tantra, and Ganda Yuva Sutra, Dombokwebe Do. And as Kisela again reminded us, we talked about this some time back, that within Buddhist schools of thought, tenets, Sevatandika Madhyamika school, Umar Ranggyupa in Tibetan, the sub-school of Mahayana, and below, right, they do not, necessarily, say that emptiness is necessary to achieve, what we call liberation and enlightenment. The selflessness is the term used, right, more emphasized more in the other schools of Buddhist thought. Whereas in the Prasangika Madhyamika school, the highest school of thought, so the term used is emptiness, shunyata in Sanskrit, sunyata in Pali, and tongpanyi in Tibetan. So that emptiness is just the same whether you want to become an arahat or arahant of Sharvaka Yan, the hearer's vehicle, or you want to become an arahat or arahant of Pratyeka Buddha Yan or solitary realizer's vehicle, or whether you want to become an arahat or arahant of Mahayan. The wisdom is just the same, right? It is the wisdom realizing emptiness, period. There is no difference there.
What did the Dhamma, Kansa Dhamma, the Chui Dhamma, need to do the Kanga Shagota. Shagoti, do the Oma to the Chui Dhamma, the Kansa Dhamma, Gaja Chara Shagota. Tenjo, Shishoji, Gonshamo, Gaja Jibashija, Chara Shagoma, this on the in because Tava Kartona and don't you do this? What did it? When she said, Gaza Chara me, the Kazada Medo was the Kazada Mechamoto, where I did any tree that Mechamo, the Kazada Mechamoni, Chuji got Machava me, the Kotara me, the Kochava Shadow Marva.
No.
That you know, most of Gaza Coralia, Kazada me said, Kazara yet is the usual. She was at that Rangi Dendro. Some of them soon need the usual, so the Gaza Kasha and Terrasha.
No.
So that they tell you, she changes as mother, any Damel Terra me, Ganga, where somebody said, you didn't have to do more.
The terminology that is generally used or commonly used in the Buddhist schools of thought is dharma, anatma, or selflessness in English, right? We translated it. And then there are two types of selflessness we talk about. Selflessness of a person, kansagitame in Tibetan, and selflessness of phenomena, chögyitame. Okay? And in the lower schools of Buddhist thought, they said, there is a qualitative difference between selflessness of a person and selflessness of phenomena. Okay? Although both are called selflessnesses, but they are not one and the same thing. That's it. Selflessness of a person in the lower school refers to, the what called selflessness of a substantially what called existent self of person, right? Rangja tu bezaba, self-sufficient rangja and substantially existent rangja tu bezeyu, right? So there is not such a person called self-sufficient and substantially existent. We can establish that is a selflessness of a person. Okay. Now, if you want to understand the selflessness of a phenomena, and some school they talk about that refers to the selflessness of true existence, isn't it? Yeah, there is nothing that is truly existent. Yeah. So there is a qualitative difference between selflessness of a self-sufficient and substantially existent person and selflessness of a truly existent person. That's not the one and the same thing. Yeah. Now, if you look from the mind-only school of thought, Chittamatra, Semsaba in Tibetan, so the selflessness of phenomena really refers to the non-duality between subject and object, isn't it? So that kind of, right, there is no such thing externally existent object. Once you realize that, then you are going to realize the non-duality between subject and object. So that's what the Chitta Martins will talk about. Now, Prasangika is a whole school of thought in itself. Prasangika says that there is no qualitative difference between selflessness of a person and selflessness of phenomena. Selflessness is selflessness. It's the same. The difference we can make between those two is that, if you take a person as the basis and establish selflessness, that's called selflessness of a person. If you take a phenomenon as the basis and establish its selflessness, that's called selflessness of phenomena. Okay? So selflessness, there's no difference. Why? Because according to Prasangika Madhyamika schools, the object of negation, Gakcha in Tibetan, the object of refutation is just the same. There is no subtle or gross difference in terms of what is being negated or what is being refuted. So therefore, that selflessness, is just the same, which is called emptiness, by the way, Prasangikas. Are you with me? In the other Buddhist schools of thought, they say in terms of what is being negated or refuted, we could find gross and subtle differences. Okay?
What did it? Then one day, Jesus Castle, and don't you do a share of the Dirgas, Casa. Take us some go, Pabeg, and the Casa Jula Shasha Sivata.
No.
She said, she had George was said, she said, Curtis, and the Tiwasum Jagi, Pagoti, so go out to YouTube, my body, because she just don't you do a share of Shashas.
No, so.
And it don't you like Casa Gumza, Chevario Marcy, what they say at this.
So according to Prasangika schools of thought, Umathingyuba Tibetan, in the Prajna Paramita Sutras, Wisdom Gone Beyond Sutras, the wisdom realizing emptiness is called Prajna Paramita, right? The perfection of wisdom or wisdom gone beyond. And that wisdom, it is essential to become an Aryas, transcendental beings of Sharavaka Yan, hearer's vehicle, Pratika Buddha Yan, solitude realizer's vehicle, or Arya of Mahayan, isn't it? In order to become a transcendental being, Aryas of any vehicles within Buddhism, the perfection of wisdom, realizing emptiness, is necessary, and that perfection of wisdom and the emptiness we are talking about is just the same.
What did that, Tafi or Tabio did that? Cousin so the Shonju to the Tab yet.
No.
And Shera did that, don't you know, Shera or the Shera like Chevaya Maris or this. Nirani, yes, Tanula, Shera the Tag, Shani, Shera the Kaza, the Pumboso, each other, and she maybe. Tamutamo. Shera, Tamutamo, double question. Tai said she took on the shed use. Certain thing is the then she didn't show you. Then you sunny she. Sunny she, Nale, Namu, Kumgober, or Shadow, the Dala, Shamba, the Ninja Semi Yajang, Ninja Chabon Meadows, young to the Ninja Shambo in Shandon, Cordiche, Laxam Drain Ninja Shambo Meje, Shiva years, Wojang Amataros. Oh, did that? You know, the career is not Tab Share, here of Tabata, Tashi the career. And this Punzo is sure him. Tamu Tamu Doba Gush, Chibaris, Tibas Chemi, that time child career is so the Bay, Shivanyang. That's much go to that you want to Saudi said, and the settings on thing to go back. They didn't you go country. Now, the Carson machine. You don't touch the going to dressing or she tapped the or dressing said to go to and Carsa Sanji go to or direct to your tap the so Shaju Toya or the Tom to the Hagris. Carsa Yamena Combo Kiedo, the Dala Shamba the Ninja Shimo. Somebody ninja your ninja semi year young. Ninja Shimo Mesa Jinxe. Young Kashis Ninja Shimo you the Kurgi Ninja Kurgis and Data. Ninja Shimo the Chuk Jan. And serious I do not dare to be Sanjay was the Chonju Sim Drains of Ninja Shuk Shimo. Kurgis and Kurgis and the land of Shad is your what the Sita Sita Shizu the Nema Pearl, Keva Shizu, Kayel Yena Shamo Base in Jixe, Kayel Shamo the Yard, the Yena Kurgi in Jibis, Kashikota Javis. She don't do some years old, was number Yadriag, Shadow Sam Driag, in the Yomaris. Beyond Yenas, Jinja was the Jinjas and never do, trip the Marajis of Yoro.
So as Krishna explained, that whether we look at the paths of Sharvaka Yan, hearers, or the Pratyeka Buddha Yans, solitary realizers, or the Mahayan or the Bodhisattva Yan, the paths necessarily include both method and wisdom, right? Yan, wisdom, and Upaya, method. Yeah? But from Prasangika point of view, what we have established and talked about conclusively is this, that the wisdom aspect of the path is just the same for all three vehicles. It's the wisdom realizing emptiness, and maybe call it the subtle selflessness, whatever term you want to say, it's just the same. But in terms of the method aspect, there are a lot of differences. Because Sharvakas and the Pratyeka Buddhas, they are seeking personal liberation from samsara, right? They're really not seeking enlightenment for the sake of all beings. Yes, that's not their state of mind or their aspiration. Their aspiration is that I want to be out of the samsara, okay, the suffering. And so for that, they according to Prasangika, they must have the wisdom realizing emptiness, and you integrate that with your method aspect of the path, right? And that would include like love, compassion, and realizing the 12 interdependent links, right? And cultivating different types of samadhis and concentration. So these are the method aspect of the path. So through that, you will be able to achieve your spiritual goal, So there are different scholarly take on this particular issue. At least in Tibet, Krishna said that many scholars would say that Sharvakas, or the hearers and solitary realizers, they have love and compassion, but these are called immeasurable love and compassion, isn't it? But they do not have great compassion that bodhisattvas have. So that's how many scholars would make a difference, isn't it? They are not saying that Sharvakas and Pratyeka Buddhas don't have love and compassion at all. They do, okay? But their love and compassion are called immeasurable love and compassion, but not a great one, not Mahakaruna. Okay. Whereas some other scholars say, no, they also have great compassion, Mahakaruna. Okay? It's not just the Mahayanis, but what they really don't have is called, we call the great compassion, that is accompanied by this personal sense of accountability and responsibility that I'm going to seek enlightenment and for the sake of all sentient beings. So you don't have the great compassion that is characterized by the willpower. We call laksam, or the special thought. Are you with me? That only bodhisattvas have. They don't have that willpower that I'm going to take the responsibility on my shoulders to be enlightened for the sake of all beings. So that's how the scholars, right, they have a different standpoints, on this, so on these matters. And in other words, that Sharvakas and particular Buddhas, their main interest is to uproot afflictive emotions or nyonmong, kleshas from their mind, so they can be free from samsara. That's their job, right? That's their aspiration. And so they need to have the wisdom realizing emptiness to uproot the delusions, and they need to combine that with their method aspect of the path, right? Realizing the 12 dependent links of origination, different types of samadhis, and whether the great compassion or immeasurable compassion or love, whatever, all of those are needed. Okay.
No, that nipa jeva shiva loss. The dode shiva sum de naja shiva. So tabat some deve chang. Don't you talk about temba? Don't you drive a but jeva shiva was? What did that? Because I did that Javada, the Jita Javalia, Singdil, and the Casa Chigasado, Chidu Seado, Tajo Seado, she said, Javasam no don't do say Mavodua. She said, that Chigasea, the Singlish in the Makura, saw the doing my hair, the Chigasea, that Tajo said, Tina Licani of two. Said, what he lost. Tojo the Tajus and the countries and magic manual. That Tiraka because she's a daughter of the court doing the thing there to a jam was the Tondasu rules and show some share the Chidons that the Chidons she was. So you think the Java Marva?
No.
Liu Guan Shea, Tony the Kajata to that Kajato in the Reshas, my tell the Chidons.
No.
So at the beginning we laid out some major outlines and now the brief presentation on the topic, we have covered that. Now it's called detailed explanation, Geshe, right, which is done under 3 subpoints, if you will. The first one would be, let me see, what am I saying here? These two truths, right? We will deal with the 2 truths, and then again we will look at emptiness is needed even to achieve nirvana. Okay? And then the third point is, we will look into different types of analysis of reasonings to establish emptiness. Right? So those are covered under the detailed presentation. And as Geshe-la said, there are many different types of commentaries, right? The one is called Tika, which is basically commentary on a particular root text, right? That kind of commentary, right? You will look at the root text line or the words, and then you will make a commentary on that illustration. That's called Tika. Okay? And then we have a Tajir, which is more like an analytical commentary, where they try to, what called refute, right? The different viewpoints and establish one's own school system of thought and defend it, right? And that kind of commentary is more analytical in nature. It's called Tajir. Okay? Then another commentary is called Chidun, which means a general presentation, which means that this commentary does not necessarily explain root text words, isn't it? It just simply presents the topic, right, and covers the topic. So the text that Geshe-la is using by the same author of the commentary on the guide is called Chidun. It's a general presentation on the topic of emptiness. Of course, so in this particular commentary, the author is not commenting on any particular lines or the words from the Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life, right? He already did that, right? What he is saying is that in chapter 9 on Shantideva is about wisdom gone by emptiness. And so he already commented on that root text. Now he said, I'm going to do a general presentation on this topic because, and so this is called Chidan. So the detailed explanation, Geshe, as we said before, covers these three sub-points. The first one is presenting the two truths, Tenpa. Now, as a matter of fact, every tenet school or school of thought has to deal with two truths. They may have different explanation, but they have to talk about the two truths. That's what we will discuss. The second point is called, in order to achieve just liberation from samsara, one must realize emptiness. Now, that's very exclusive to Prasangika school of thought. Remember, not all other Buddhist school of thought accept it. So that's exclusive standpoint of Prasangika. We will look into details. Then the third point is looking through different types of analysis of reasonings to establish emptiness, because emptiness is such a difficult topic, isn't it? And it requires a lot of, how should I say, explanations. It's not like a visible form. Then we can show each other, like, you can see this, right? Or it's not a sound like, okay, listen one more time, I'll play it for you. It's not that. Emptiness is not something visible, and so we need to understand that concept or that reality. So it requires a lot of explanation. So therefore, it requires critical thinking, analysis, and reasoning.
What did he hear? What did the this is that the Junju Koran secret no is bonus my hero Mari. Cards the Koran Junju to the Koran did some of all hero. Taking in the Koran Tito and Bakoran didn't share mother. Saw the bonus is my hero. Sit down to that mother. Saw the god in the hero Mara. The she thought the Gomar of the Chibuchi young to Yore. So the guy the Shego did not issue.
So as I said before, the commentator here, who is the same author of the commentary we have been through extensive on the guide, now he just kind of wants to do a general presentation, a commentary on the subject matter of the chapter 9, the wisdom chapter, isn't it? So now he doesn't need to bother with explaining the words or the root text by the Shantideva, right? He already did that. And so the way he understood it, right? So he wants to present that general discourse, if you will, on the topic. And as Geshe-la said, the way he has done, it really kind of goes along with what Lama Tsongkhapa has done in Uma Kongpa Rapsal. elucidating the thought, the middle way thought. So if you never had a chance to study that text of the Lama Tsongkhapa Uma Kongpa Rapsa, if you listen carefully to this general discourse or the commentary, I think it would serve the same purpose.
我的他的我东家当时的他人生的么人生的，现在现在参加叫现在个长太阳的名就要么的，他可能就成一所对呢，那个可是的么人的嘛就学要嘛他，可是呢，要么呢工作的嘛，要么同事的，婚姻可能我也学，他考要么大没大，看这几天呢，可是人呢嘛就要么嘛，现在这样。定义啊，谈到的多多种定义啊，谈到定义上，等下都我听他。现在确实来看这些，名单是搞电视跑最大，这个生意就我麻烦呢，这个名跑就那电视跑上差个嘛是吧？我觉得这东西上是两百年前的，其实吧，这个定义性的吧，这那外星的话，现在是东家谈到了定义上的，可做啥东西，谈到你这了。
So the first main topic is presenting the two truths, Tenpa Nyi in Tibetan. As Geshe-la explained that the objects of knowledge, Sheja, are just countless, isn't it? So if we have to talk about every one of them, right, nobody can ever do it. It's impossibility, right? When will we ever finish talking about everything that exists, you know? So this true truth is a categorization, isn't it? So we will bring every phenomenon, everything that exists under true, which makes it much more easy to handle it, isn't it? So we have the conventional truth, Kunzop Tenpa, Samvritti Satya, and then we have the ultimate truth, Paramartha Satya, isn't it? So under these two categories of truth, everything that exists can be subsumed. Things can be impermanent. Things can be permanent. We don't really, it doesn't matter. They have to be either right conventional truth or the ultimate truth. So that makes it easier for us to be able to handle the objects of knowledge.
我这里一看嘛，可是送的是电影也要。的生意些吧，同步电影也要的生意呢，工作团活动的些诉讼，这了，电影进就是前面路了，就把六七线是吧，说是吧，可能给让这路多多认为，全的工作代表同意了，真的碰把特别怎么带不得？去看到就是说，六说是啥呢？让人一老没什么大不，就是可能给让一老没到，全的统统得把的，就这说下面的，希望个是下面的不，在那里养做嘞，看了这么老一些，现在得了没什么。범죄형도 꾸더도 예도도 해서 제가 시라마에 lok선 되어서 되니가 좋아라. 좀 얼른 쉬게서 왔어도 좀 세서 그런 범죄를 가위로 봐 짜샤는 그좀 쓰기로. 달로 쉬게서 왔어도 맞음나 아니 범죄도 범죄 카드 범죄에 샵들에 또 하면서 내가 löpa jeba shani, ente lo kaad pabare reke, pabare dogo maro.
No.
Tine si de zan, ente ponzi londo ate, lo shoye saane, ene, karza soye shiwa, tela kunzo nyambasi. Ta tine si de zan, lo rongsa denge de la karza, ponzo nyamba. Ode si wari, karzi ta, duden shame da, duma shi duga kanga ta tonso de wari. Pumba kawa sar ta, kanzo de, so
something I learned from the previous explanation, one word, of course we are talking in the context of ancient Indian traditions, right? So when we talk about presenting the true truth, that's not only the Buddhists do it, right? We call the non-Buddhists, my footnote referring to the Hindus, not every non-Buddhist, okay? They also talk about the true truths as well. Okay? So the true truth is presentation exists in different non-Buddhist schools of thought, meaning mostly Hindus in my footnote, and then the Buddhists. Of course, things could be different there. So now we're starting to look at true truths from different schools' point of view. According to Vaibhashikas, Chetamawa in Tibetan, right? The lowest Buddhist schools of thought in terms of ranking. Okay? As it is stated by Vasubandhu in the Abhidhammakosha, Treasure of Knowledge, or Dze in Tibetan, that how do they differentiate between conventional truth and ultimate truth? Conventional truth is defined as a phenomenon. If you destroy it or eliminate it through analysis, then the perception of that reality or the phenomenon, it disappears. It ceases to exist. Are you with me? So that's called conventional reality. I'll repeat it. Okay? A phenomenon, if it is destroyed literally, or it is how should I say, dissected, so to speak, analytically, then the perception of that phenomenon, right, does not exist anymore. So such phenomenon is called conventional reality or truth. The example is a vase, right, Pumbaa, or a cup. Well, a glass can be destroyed completely, right? Then you don't have a perception of the glass anymore, you mean? Or we can analytically dissect it. Is this the rim, the glass? Or is this the belly one is the glass? Or that the bottom part is the glass? When you analyze, then at the end, right, the perception of the glass, it disappears. That makes sense? So therefore, the glass, everything we create are called conventional reality because they could literally be destroyed and the perceptions are no more there, or they could be dissected analytically and the perceptions do not exist. Whereas a phenomenon or reality that persists, right, that cannot be destroyed in that way, either literally or through analytical dissection. So that is, they call it ultimate truth or ultimate reality. Vaibhashikas we're dealing with, right? And the example they will give is, the partless particles, partless moments of perception, consciousness, okay? And anything we call it unproduced phenomenon, right? Non-composite phenomenon. So these are the examples of ultimate truth according to Vaibhashikas or Chetamawa. Is that distinction coming out clearer to you? Okay. Now the Sautrantikas, Dodeba, Tibetan, is a little easier to differentiate between the two. All the what we call movable, functional things are ultimate truth, and all the non-functional things, other words, non-products, right, unproduced phenomena are conventional reality. According to Sautrantikas, Dodeba in Tibetan, all the like we call things, functional things are they call ultimate truth, okay, reality. Whereas all the non-functional things that exist are non-functional, like maybe space or non-products. These are conventional phenomena. You know how now the presentations are changing in different schools of thought? Now we're still dealing with the Buddhist schools of thought here, okay? Yeah. Now, within Buddhist schools of thought, Chittamatrins or mind-only school of thought, or the Madhyamikans, the middle way school, In general, the term they use, right, applies to both. We call it emptiness is ultimate reality, and something that exists, which is not emptiness, is called conventional reality. Now, that being said, in terms of what is being negated, object of negation, right, there is a difference between Chittamatrins, Savatantrika Madhyamikins, and Prasangika Madhyamikins, right? In terms of what is emptiness, right, what needs to be refuted, negated to establish emptiness, we find differences among these schools. But at the generic level, they all say that emptiness is the ultimate reality, and anything that exists which is not emptiness is conventional truth or reality. This author mentions that in his viewpoint that within Sautrantikas we find those who are followers of the scriptures and those who are followers of reasoning. He says when it comes to differentiating between the two truths, the Sautrantikas were the followers of scriptures, Lung, so they aligned with the presentation of the Vaibhashikas, isn't it? Okay. So that's what this author mentions here. Kaya karsama chado ki karsama kaya.
La chado tawa mai ba.
Ale tawa mai ba kutre
ram.
Ale musu. Tanda kan do de beshe de roage. So as we said, the Sautrantikas, for them, ultimate truth or reality, Tandam Demba, Paramada Sata, the terms that are synonyms are Tandam Demba, ultimate truth, then Ngöbo, functional thing, and Rang Tsinyi Chuba Sumbege. Tandam Demba, Rang Tsinyi Chuba Chibur Sumbe. Yes. So ultimate truth and functional thing are synonyms, and what that really means for them is something existing truly without being labeled by terms and concepts, right? That's what they're thinking about. Yeah. And that which has been a label imputed by terms and concept is regarded as a conventional reality or truth. And so, so they think that conventional truth, Kunjab Jisen, generic characteristic, Jisen, and Ngöme, non-functional thing that does not function, are synonyms.
대다랑시 생이시 제소세 늘 갑동 대다 제다다다 남자한테 저 남자 거라는 우리 너들 로인스 와라 어디게 어디 남자 자 공차도
No, sir.
어디
No, sir.
So they have cited lines from Pramana Vartika or valid cognition text, Namgyal in Tibetan, because generally the perspective that Pramana Vartika takes on thing, it follows the Sautantika's school of thought. Okay, Dodeba.
어디 다 지성다 마용도 다 내미 젠파다다 도대바지라 마르디 이나자데 샬노시 다 다다데 주 가르치고서 태교로 시고로
No, then.
어디 태교로 주이 들어다 얘기라서 돈 가서 내만이야 힘들어들 가르쳐 그래서 다 얘기라 낭정세 낭정세 로나지로 덴바다 덴데 나서바다 드마다베 유소 조서 예장 덴 시자슈 시자 좀 얘기하거든 랍투소 야신제 도청벌이 내가 뒤집에 구조도 동답에 니 토도 쳐대 시바셔 구조도 동답에 내가 들세데 대야 좀 되게 동바지다 동바지 랍스 랍디 거서 동바지 랍디 스 랍디시 레바고도 시베 티시 탐제 시바 시셔 예송스 도제디 시바셔 시베 시자 얘기되네 들 이시데 들 세제베 디기 장에데베 디기베 고조도 동답에 데이터 쉬데 히베 남제기 데이 세기니 예제데베 돈도데 로컨거죠 독자멤버데 시자멤버 시바 남제 객소세 다들 쇼르르가지 데르기 데다 디카르서 다들 다들 두시야시 거사 도데 거사 쇼고데 디카르서나 거들라도 랍두소 야세죠 도창발레스 어디 제가 근데 데데 지도리야 아니 너좀다 거사 데데 거지도도 거사 덴바도 덴제도 촉바도 로마다서 뭐뭐 다 같이 해야 돼 뭐뭐 이게 같이 해야 돼 해 먹어서 데다도 야세죠 도스모도 다라셔네 어때 시작 해그리스 뒤집어가 시작들 이야기지 시바셔 들세스 내만인 세계라샤 셰디 얘기 시작시네 다 시작들 얘네 내만인샤 내만이들 도도 대만 돈이샤 근데 많이 받대 아니 그거도 마샤 어따 선서가 연시에 상상식 말이다 세계 상상 근데 세계 상상들 가가지고
No.
Of course, the main intent of the author here is to present, emptiness from Prasangika school of thought, but sort of as a sort of background stuff, contexting it. So he talked a little bit about this other Buddhist schools of thought, briefly looking at the two truths, and. So as Geshe-la read from the text and explained that in the Sutra Samukchaya, compendium of Bodhisattva trainings, I think the Sutra of meeting between father and son is quoted there, and which basically states that Tathagata or Buddha has omnisciently realized objects of knowledge in terms of the two truths, and the two truths are ultimate truth and the conventional truth. And as Geshe-la explained earlier, Siddhartha Martin School of Thought, mind only, and school above, the terminology they use is common, right? Ultimate truth refers to emptiness, and conventional truth refers to everything else that exists but not emptiness, right? It's called conventional truth. So Buddha has actualized the true truths and then illustrated them for us.
What is it? That Karsa. Then jump to the Toma, you rub the sick, rub the liquid mood, she teaches. Tamji Camp here, show here, songs. Dodi Hija Hiba Hiba Hija Hija Yeshi, and there is still says Hiba. The hang it there. The Hiba good told of the talk shoot he Shebe Namjin Chase, the Yi Surgeon. She said them to know them, Lord Congress. Doctor member, she's a member, Sheva, Namja Kixos. That they are get a Savas the Mareta, that Kaja this war. Because that Tondo there was a one of Yomers. Jen, yeah, Yomers, Namjik in the Tondo there was Sigmaris.
Yes.
But that is a good show.
No, son.
In it, Hashan is not his Jibashi.
Yes.
And the Hashan Jibari rumors and Hashan Jiba rumors, Hashan Tomokon and the Kaka Mies lawyers. That the mouth so loud is the Jibashi in fact, Mies, you are my lover. So you get a shit out of Kayars. Jibashi so. Did they get a shit? That no shaker of that. You saw the time how did you?
No, no.
Namjig Doctor Maris that sending to the Naliore.
No.
Don't you say the he just don't just say, the thing Namja de Yomar
No, sir.
don't bother you loud to say that they get a high over the sending Naliore,
I don't know, son.
sending the general Gazon.
Ale.
So that she's exactly sending it to the kids that can hear Muduga.
No.
She sending kids at the Yama program and don't you go no yet, Chiwashi.
No, no, son.
So the things are exactly sending for Shaki and convert the Shazad to do shading.
No.
So what Geshe read there, and of course citing a sutra, is that Buddha has, realized emptiness most deeply, thoroughly. The Tibetan word is rub to thokwa, right? Internalize it completely, and that's why Buddha is called Buddha. In other words, one of the reasons why Buddha is established as an enlightened being is because he fully and completely and realized emptiness, right? And so relating to that, sort of in some sense, a bit of a major issue has been raised, which has to do with, this is actually where Lama Tsongkhapa in his work called Setting, what's the Golden Rosary treatise, where he also makes reference to the viewpoints of early Tibetan masters, right? And so there are a number of them. That's quite a controversial topic. So many of them said that emptiness is not an object of knowledge. It is not an object of knowledge of Buddha's omniscient wisdom. They said emptiness doesn't exist at all. It's something, it's just made up thing. It doesn't exist at all. Are you with me? So that's that standpoint. So then people said, oh, so how do you differentiate between the standpoint of Hoshang Mahayana, right? One particular Chinese master historically who propounded the whole philosophy of nothingness, isn't it? Right? So how is that different? He said, well, the Hoshang, without thinking very carefully, right, he just declared, right, nothing exists at all. But whereas in the Madhyamika, through analysis, when you don't find anything, right? So they translated the unfindability or non-findability into nothingness. They said, no, that's not same. The Hoshang right from the beginning, without thinking carefully, said nothing exists. But this is through analysis, careful. Then you don't find anything. That means nothing exists at all. Okay? So therefore, emptiness is not an object of knowledge. And so it cannot be an object of knowledge of Buddha. Right? So that's quite a major sort of a standpoint which used to be upheld by a number of early Tibetan masters. And so Geshe-la is chuckling over this. He said, that's exactly what we find is stated in the setting, Golden Rosary Treatise of Lama Tsongkhapa. And now these days in the monasteries, right, so often they kind of leave aside. They don't make reference to that, and they go with the Gongpa Rapsal, illustrating the middle way philosophy and some other texts, you know. That's what Geshe-la was chuckling over, right? I mean, it is there, so, you know, maybe we don't have to hide it. I guess that's my footnote. We just talk about it, yeah.
Well, there is sending out there, the parting social side. Juba Jusum social said here.
No, so
With the social here, that the social said here, or Digaduria, so no, she died no dinner here, or the said Jeremy was sitting in the castle, or Dicadu say what you are.
Right. So Geshe-la remembers very clearly where exactly it is in the Golden Rosary. Golden Rosary is a commentary on the Prajna Paramita. Vishnu gone beyond, and where we talk about the 11 what called Tsogdrup, 11 types of accumulation practices, and there's one in particular called accumulation of wisdom, Yisheju Tsogdrup. So in that particular section, so there's mention of that, the one issue we just talked about, right? So Lama Tsongkhapa did mention that there. But in today, many of our, when they debate about or read about monastic textbooks, right? They somehow sidestep that, and then they refer to the illustrating the middle way philosophy and things like that.
What did that occur? Tondo de Lokan, those I remember, he's a member here at Namja. King so say, oh, those Lago, you did this or that. Tondo de what they got, no, you might see special, what you are.
no.
She said, there's all the guy does the king.
So that particular sutra which says that Buddha has, you know, kind of utterly and most thoroughly internalized and realized emptiness, and this is why he's called omniscient person. Like this is also kind of counteracting that kind of a standpoint. Many early Tibetan masters, you know, said that emptiness is not an object of knowledge. So therefore, omniscient mind cannot realize it. It doesn't exist at all, right? And so to refute, to counteract that kind of a standpoint, so we find a statement like that in Sutra, right? Ultimate reality is an object of knowledge, you know.
Oh, that Nipa Dini Changan is that the Bajan Paya de Yawasia, the Shiza Tam to do that, and the Shiza Tom is a tires. That Jesus to do that, the Bajan. Shiza Kaja Tom because they must, you know, that the inner part. Tilepa gain dry amara, the incarnation zoo. Said the Lord, yeah, gave the way. What did that the banana say? That tell me the banana, 6 hundred sitting on 6 years. Told them about a good Jimmy made it. Tell you some sugar.
No.
But that 600 Ningus, that Nilma got there go Marisi. Did you know, like, I'm going to do anything to join your Marisi?
So, I mean, this is more in the sort of presented in debate form, where this classification of all objects of knowledge into the true truth. This is called definitive categories, or conclusive or comprehensive. Maybe that's better in English, right? And somebody said, like, why we have to talk about truth? Why can't we talk one truth, right? They said, no, that won't do, because then you are leaving out so many things. Then they said, well, if we can't talk about one, why can't we talk about three now, right? They said, no, that's not needed, right? Because everything that exists, it is either conventional truth or ultimate truth. So you don't need a third category, right? Because these two truths subsume everything that exists. So there's no need for the third truth, but cutting two into one is not going to work, because that's not going to be definitive category. Does this make sense? Yeah.
Well, did you go up? Karum you come in the Devani Pins Pandi, who gave the day in the local hit the good Deva by usual tribunal. Did Tono Deva but now she kicking. Hit the Tono Deva by usual tribunal. Hit the good Deva and now she kick over. Until the kick over us. Oman no one is so much that he may say that the tongue is longy jump up there. Yasir dole do the tongue bottom. Here, do the Jigdin Chamber, here Maseba, the Badini Domanze, can you consult he told them there? They must have a shade of Saji Lady, Saji shade of she saw down. Dingy, because dingy so do too young. Then they go down to them, but down. Then by him, some good them by no. To that tongue, down. Do you go around really sauce? Hotel da, you don't never knew quite strong here, Nina Mondio, tell Mamma Shaw, you not do Mari, the Tata Yoris. But you did when you pencil bungary, Timay, the door long Mawadua, or the money Haruma, when you know you usually, Chick good use you, Chick Parking do this.
No.
But they been Pumbat the wrong thing to a kiss on the Pumbat, Ranjimel, too loyal Dogova, or to them you do in the things. But the mom was on here because tongue more than you want because you know, Yasia or the Teva disease.
Woman now the power trade again.
La,
Woman now the power trade my way.
oh, no,
Power trade away.
oh,
No, did it, power trade.
but the purling will come on like that.
I'll come and see. So in the text, they have cited many other sources to establish that the true truth categories are definitive categories. We don't need more than two. We can't do less than two, right? But these two truths are mutually exclusive categories, isn't it? Like if something is ultimate truth, that cannot be a conventional truth. If something is conventional truth, it cannot be an ultimate truth, right? And mutually exclusive categories. So to establish, so the text cited are like the fundamental wisdom treatise, Mula Madhyamika by the Nagarjuna, and the auto commentary on the Middle Way. And so this all talks about, right, these are definitive categories, the true truth. And so mutually exclusive category, what it means is this, right? So if, let's say, taking a vase as an example, a pot, Pumbaa, okay? If a pot were to exist intrinsically as it appears to our mind, right, then it cannot be empty of intrinsic existence. You mean? If a pot is empty of intrinsic existence, then it cannot be intrinsically existent, because those are mutually exclusive categories, right, for our mind, how it appears, right? A pot appears to our mind as intrinsically existent. And if it were to exist that way, right, then it could not be empty of intrinsic existence. But if the pot were to exist, if pot were to be empty of intrinsic existence, then it could not exist intrinsically, right? That's what we call mutually exclusive categories. No.
너 이제 다 도시도 늘 도도 아카사 고대 고조 대바 아카 도도 대바다 대바 신서 고조 대바 이노스 다들 테레 그 대바 니 사가지고서 내지사 시기도 하시
No,
시어 말에서는 시시는 중요 말에서 고대되는 도도 대바도 우리 대바 셔다 되게 되는 고조 대바 그래서 니나 만디고 요 말에서 그리고 초동도 지라다
Yes. So as about the extension of that whole sort of a debate going on, where we said, these true truth categories is a definitive category, right? Everything that exists belongs to one of the two. We don't need more than two. We can't do less than two, right? Then somebody said, okay, then what about the Four Noble Truths you talk about? So now you're talking about four here. Well, that's a different classification. If you look at the Four Noble Truths, only the truth of cessation is the ultimate reality. The other three truths are conventional reality. So the Four Noble Truths also, right, belong to these two categories. Either it is ultimate or it is conventional, isn't it? No.
어디죠? 대다 장애 당해서 누주제 죽바랑들이 소서 어디 그런 공조들 공물을 말했어. 죽바랑들 나신 셰베스 어디 숨고다.
So all these things, he said, I have not cooked it up by myself, but all of these things are something explained or discussed in the auto commentary on the supplement to the Middle Way.
어디죠? 정제를 소서 수바대인지 그런 예반이스. 내 대인 때는 뵙지지 안드시나. 가본소 군서 대바이 세명이 와도 도도 대바 세명이 와 모두 저거바인데. 가본소 군서 대바이 세명 예네 도도 대바 세메 망에 바 간사 미시비셰데 까보서 고조 데베 도도 루 조바라 대다 줌버 조게신 대 조바라 데르 세메 키고바 고베 체르사 줌바 군소 데바 이비 까보서 루 조바 자라네 에데다 오메타 이와 카라 고디 강사 라가와 남지죠. 우리가 대다 통신 접해서로 대다게 까부서 줌바 통야. 줌바를 줘먹고디 주메 데모에서 주메를 따로 통하나. 줌바 통야 나와디 줌바 줘먹고 시듯이 주변을 실시해도스 어디다 딱 내용에서 가려서는 this bombardier ko thonda bajwada kuzo debai season bomba thonda bai ba kexon bomba kuzo debai tori bomba kuzo thonda kek do but o chek kek ni chek bo chu ma zwa yo ma ri ti shan xia ge mo ji dao li ya bomba do le bomba de dong yi do ge se ya do de ale bomba do dong yi do de bomba do ge se ya do ti de ge ke ma ri shu ko 주다 로모저데 bomba다 가와가가 하고 그러고 그죠? 하고 그 줌바다 디지케서 가요 말 그러면 그서다 리마도 디지케서 가시고 말와 다 시지 세즈고 그 줌바에 뭐도 그 데바에 뭐 제바시 제서나 애들 지금 지금 주로고요 어디 저서 애들 뭐게 있어 데려서
pomba 줌바 임바 또 발라 pomba
템바 내가 캐고
제대 동이 된 pomba 줌바
줌바
군자 템바 또 이거 쇼라 또 나오는 So the next point presented is in terms of what called the Tibetan word thokpa, understanding, realizing, perceiving. That's the issue we have, right? Sometimes I say realization, then it changes something. So keep those things in mind, right? Let's say the perception of, the order of the perception of the true truths. The order of the perception of the true truths. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. So to understand that, first we have to bring back to our mind what we said earlier. The true truths are mutually exclusive, isn't it? If something is established as emptiness, then it cannot, right, be conventional truth or vice versa, isn't it? Because the way it is perceived, right? If something is perceived as emptiness, then there is no conventional, right? It's not perceived as conventional reality. So a lot of discussions usually happen is that, you know, in order to realize the emptiness or perceive the emptiness of a vase, right, must we, in order to perceive a vase, must we perceive its emptiness first? Are you with me? In order to perceive or realize emptiness of a vase, in order to perceive a vase, pot, must we perceive its emptiness first? That makes sense? But that is really not the issue we're discussing here, because you know, with our ordinary perceptions, we can perceive a vase, we can perceive a pillar, isn't it? Does that make sense? And so in order to perceive a vase or a pillar or whatever that object, conventional phenomena is, we do not have to perceive its emptiness first. Is that clear to you? Okay, now I'm going to move to the next point. But in order to realize a vase as a conventional reality, I know that English word is not working here for me, I don't know if it's working for you. The samvitha satya, so I prefer to use the word deceptive truth, just to bring out the meaning, okay? So, because one word is not working here, English. See, in order to realize that a vase is a deceptive truth, one must realize its emptiness first, isn't it? Only when we realize that vase is empty of true existence, intrinsic existence, so we have refuted or negated the true existence, intrinsic existence of vase. So through that, now we realize that vase is like an illusion, is a deceptive truth, isn't it? Now you can see that conventional reality is not working here, right? For me, the one Tibetan word, Sanskrit, we have to translate many ways, okay? So you have to find that distinction, okay? Yeah. So the example given here is that of a magical creation of horses and elephants, isn't it? Spectators at the magic show, to their perception, right, there exist horses and elephants. Not only horses and elephants appear to their perceptions, but they truly believe these are real horses and elephants, isn't it? They're not able to differentiate, like, you know, oh, they look like horses and elephants, but they're not. They don't have that capability. That makes sense? So for us, right, it's just like it. Things appear to us as intrinsic existence, and we wholeheartedly believe in that, right? We are not able to, at this point, differentiate between, you know, the disparity between the appearance and the ontological status of phenomena. So we need to start today, in case I would like to open it for Q&A, and we'll first go to our Dhamma friends online, and then we'll come back.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Okay, so you have to say it slowly to me, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, this
and if it's a big paragraph, chop it up into small pieces and give me one by one.
Yeah, in fact, there's two questions here.
Yeah.
First one is, and they're kind of similar. What is the rebirth result for one who realizes selflessness of a person on the Theravada path compared to someone who is as opposed to someone who's studying emptiness on the prasangika path, right? So what is the rebirth result for one who realizes selflessness of person on the Theravada path versus the prasangika, right? You get it?
Okay, you have to say it slowly. I think I understood half and I understood I didn't understand it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Or
basically.
maybe you can open that door so that the glass is in between me here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now maybe I can hear you. Yeah.
So what is the? I said. Well, let me repeat it. What is the rebirth result, right? For one who realizes selflessness of person on a Theravada path, compared to someone who realizes selflessness of person under the prasangika path, right?
Uh-huh.
If there's a difference of a rebirth result,
Okay.
if one studies this tradition, the Theravada tradition, compared to the prasangika, is there?
Okay, let me check with me whether I
Sure.
heard you properly or not, right? It's the question about in terms of rebirth, right? What are the outcomes of realizing the selflessness of a Theravada path and the emptiness of the Mahayana path? Is that the question?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
It is just the outcome of the rebirth.
Well, he says rebirth
Rebirth,
result,
okay,
but
okay.
it could be
Okay,
almost like outcome.
Okay. I think I understood now. Condition the target on the Rawagin. That taking under the Quran to what the thank you the wa. That correct Kiwalan to the Jibu or Wagga, Kiwalan. Tanda Nindu Tebeki, Tame but Ton, Rawagin, and Kiwalan be Jibutans, Rawagin. Tanda Tinju will look at Tony Ton, Rawagin, Kiwalan be Jibunia, and Kebaro to Manda Keba your vessel, that Tundes over Wagin. Kiwaner. Nindu Tinina Shevegi, Rawagin, Tame but Ton, Esla. And it gave a lemba darwa, what gave the Burwagan. Thank you, Shevegi, Tomani Toner Wagan. Gawa lemba nedelia, and then Gawa lenda that the debut Kaba your rescue again.
Jewa le da ji wa le ji wa da jewa le da bi dong zu zhou xian de ten jiu nang xi xi de ani ko dong bu da zhong zhou xie da yin de de xia xi de rong wu zhi ba zhou xi de de che wa zhou wu zhou xian de ji wa da.
Needed is that in again Kiwa Sange, Leala, Leg, Mother, the Raja Tebe Jay, Tom Tobada, Uma Tinju, Tony Tomania, Kiwa and Kabaki Duma.
De jewa da ji ro shen da da de de wa wo ne shi ne ta de xi da ma xia de yin ma shi ne这个考察等于全部人头嘛了，过马上把家里同美共同的人头有嘛，问题是他有的就是吧？但是呢，可能个会老对呢，你考察人的这些，他们马上把些家里的写过嘛就，问题是呢，考察等于全部的人写过。
정말 제대로 다 그게 디비 개발라 아니 개와 상해 개발을 시켜 연하게.
就是他考察他没到吧，他。到来上个的，马到来上个了，再瞧一节了。
东来上了，
一节了。
Because I'm trying to get as clear a response as possible out of Kishla, right? So Kishla's first one to clarify that the selflessness that is presented in the lower Buddhist schools of thought. Which we can say selflessness of a self-sufficient and substantially existent self or a person, right? I mean, it is, something, but from Prasangika point of view, that is not an antidote to counteract one's grasping at self. That makes sense? That is still a very gross understanding of selflessness. It does not really cut through the ignorant grasping at self. So with that understanding of selflessness, if they create some good karma, of course, that will yield some good result, right? Rebirth, let's say. Whereas if one has realized emptiness as presented by the Prasangika school and then create karma, then of course it is a positive result, but it will be a huge difference there. Because that counteracts one's really grasping at self. True existence. Hopefully that answers the questions there.
Yeah, I think it does. And in fact, I think that sort of answers the second question that he had, which is about differences of of realization between the schools. So as he's asking, is the difference between selflessness in lower schools and emptiness in the Prasangika in actual kinds of realization?
Oh, that does answer that.
I think that answers the question. The next question is, I think you said that if something exists conventionally, it cannot exist ultimately. But in the Heart Sutra, it says form is empty.
Emptiness is form.
And emptiness is form. So there are two modes of existence. Can you explain?
Or clarify the mutual exclusive
because
category.
it says, don't they exist simultaneously? I think that's the question.
Okay, yeah, I think that was clear. Dagi keng anda ji sungbarwa keng karsa gore tanda namje yongje konera keng ane tendan temba ina kunza temba yin shigmar kunza temba tanda me shigmar labrawa ge namje yongje kone dinde inba ina ane karsa gore tanda sherab nyingbe nalwa ge su tongba wo tongba ni su os labsha asrwa ge sidi da karchere sa kuni ni gelda re me dowa srwa su tongba re la tongba su re labsha aske ta di deshe kyongu me ro Sherab Nimbanang Su Tongba or Tombani Su so like Wage. Did that answer to them the Kunza the chicken the chicken sing must love Wage. We'll get a lie the king session Nangus again.
Did it carry? Tomani so Tomba says that person so Tomba the so near the Gucci mother so lost the Tomba say Shara Yamara. Tomba is a so called Tomba is your. That is Tomba is your. So so Tomba is so lost your Maris. So gonna so you Tomba is the Gucci. So good Tomba is the so you watch by Yelmere mother. Konik so you Tomba so you the Kaka of Silpig. The mother says, "So good tongue, but the so rare lie on my own." In the so the tongue, but as far so good tongue, but she does it better. Tulaka, Geno, Tons did it, Tulaka, Geno, Meva, Salton, but or Titon, the River Marva.
No. So, yes, we said that. The true truths are mutually exclusive, definitive categories. If something is ultimate truth or reality, it cannot be conventional reality and vice versa. So now you brought back that statement in the Heart Sutra, Prajna Paramita Hridayam Sutra, where it says form is emptiness, emptiness is form, and so forth, right? But what is really stated there is that the form and its ultimate reality are inseparable from each other. It's not saying that, the form is the ultimate reality and the emptiness of the form is the form itself. That's not what it means. What it means is that if you want to establish emptiness of a form, you cannot establish something other than the form, right? Because the form itself has to be empty of true existence, isn't it? That's its emptiness, okay? And that emptiness is inseparable from the form itself, right? Apart from that emptiness, you are not going to find a form somewhere else. So that's the meaning of the statement in the Heart Sutra. Understand? So that does not, in other words, my footnote, nullify the claim that the two truths are mutually exclusive. Okay? Yeah. Any more questions there?
Oh, so this is from the first question. That was just a response. So based on Geshe-la's answer regarding the different birth outcomes and stuff, wouldn't it imply that no monk before Nagarjuna ever was a real arhat?
Say it again.
It says, based on what Geshe-la's response regarding the different birth outcomes, so would that imply that no monk before Nagarjuna ever was a real arhat?
Oh, no, I say no one before Nagarjuna was no real arhat, right? Okay. Is that what Geshe-la meant, right? Okay,
yes.
Sure. That dagi tiwangema tangen di roage. Da Quran some of discourses roa gombo ludu ki ane tongba ni chitawa shinde roage. Sese che yuba inas roage. Gombo ludu ke ngyal ya tongni togen chungyo marwe sage. King the deshe janda gombo ludu ngyal tongni toge chungme besar skora kogi sarwage. This is not good.
The gombo ludu ngyal sangi ya sangi jude ngyal right.
That's not at all what he meant, right? Even before Nagarjuna, Buddha already became Buddha, right? Nagarjuna came later. So Buddha, if he didn't realize emptiness, how could he become a Buddha? Right? So we don't mean that before Nagarjuna, nobody realized emptiness. For example, Shakyamuni Buddha, before Nagarjuna, okay? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now we are back to our Gomba here. Would anybody like to start first? Yes.
Thank you for your teaching, Geshe-la. Could you please remind us?
Can you go a little closer to your mouth?
Down into it. It's one direction. Down into the mind.
Oh, yeah, you should speak into the mouth. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for your teaching, Geshe-la. Could you please remind us of the author of the commentary that you're reading from?
I didn't hear.
The author of the commentary Geshe-la's reading.
Oh, I see. The king, the 지시에 나서 차베시 대해서도 와. 네 좀바보다 소리에서 민들라우르세사. 쉐기 탁바 있었네. 라. 자바르기 로마데로. 가장 아주 준주 저와 제가 들어와 다가로. 준주 저와 좀가 다가로 와. 아, 쉐기 탁바. So the author is a Tibetan master called Choji Takpa, and he was from the same region of Tibet, eastern, called Zaba. So he was a disciple of, remember, Zapatu Rinpoche, the great Nyingma master. So now he did that extensive commentary on the guide, and then he did this separate text called General Commentary or Presentation of Emptiness. So Choji Takpa, yeah. Geshe-la said, this is just like one generation before him, not a very long time ago, yeah. Good. Yeah. If not, let's give to Latmir, and then somebody must be thinking, yeah, right. Yeah.
About the Golden Rose, Geshe-la said that in the Golden Rosary,
Yes.
J. Rinpoche approved of the position of the old
He
masters.
cited it. I will
He
demonstrate
cited
it.
and
Right.
seemed to have approved. But it is well known that the Golden Rosary was, he wrote it when he was in his 30s, and subsequently, J. Rinpoche, subsequently many of his positions he himself rejected.
Uh-huh.
And there is no problem with, and subsequent commentators also say that they were incorrect. He himself doesn't abide by them. So why is this particular issue such a like a minefield? Why is this so many of his other views are not accepted, but this particular one is being sidestepped, not even commented? Is it because if we were to reject or say that he was wrong in this particular instance, that would imply that the old masters also, of whom he approvingly spoke, were also wrong. And unlike him, though, they never corrected their own their wrong positions, and becomes a political issue. Is this what it is?
Is that the case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it? Why this particular issue is not being addressed? Geshe-la said it's sidestepped at the university.
Right,
Whereas
okay.
there are so many other issues in the
Right.
Golden Rosaries are being
Yes.
critiqued.
Sure. Dagi ken lecture setting na la roage. Jerem je ke lecture setting na la roage. Kengi dagi di song wa ta yigje na li ya ting san di shi ge min do roage. Ka so ro da men ton dam tem ba di roage. Nam ye ge yu ma la cha roage. This one the pen lecture setting na la ya ta di roage. Ne de mang ko ko leng lo che ro ba sa roage. Jerem je lecture setting chi de ga la ya dan da di 내된 뒤로 와게 체라도 간에 송와에 가르쳐요. 그래서 제는 뭐지 고난 쇼리야 공부 시에내로 와게 더 소소리야 닥대제베 소스나무로 와게 제대로 갈라 개방 예마 되저기 따와 다가스네 닥대 맞아버지 니 돈다 땡겨요. 가리 나서게 제는 뭐지 그 렉세 세린 그 디순도 갈라 다가라 제는 뭐지 이제 나도요. 와게
뭐 지도는 다 시디로 지는 배 정동에서 시디 먹고요 이렇게 지도는 제일 뭐제 저 고초에现在老中现在也看来那日本节嘛，他们从头上这个现在这个最重要嘛是吧？
라레.
现在老的套现在也有点宇宙这个是吧？
이도가 단다디 그래서 백 개방가만 남고 뒤주 다가는 제르무 지 셰데어왜.
那
개방가만 남고 뒤주 단다 셰셰디 제르무 지게 다가랑 레 공도 여왜.
我这是不是？这种的他这是不是？这边的我这么一些，给上我这个过些。
라오노.
他这现在的这什么？他们俺这看啥？偏往俺这经过些，
라오.
你刚刚老是也生是吧？
라루와.
其实那老早看来还是这种，那故事这里呀，对的呀，那现在凶啊些，你故事没现在现就是这了，那送在刚刚教这个是吧？
이네 다다 어쩌다 순도 걸 단다디 제르무 지 렉처 세는 제디 년 제르무 지 랑게 공부 다가랑 셰데어왜. 슈라 다 소리다.
那个他现在是呢，这种是那个我在那个是这种是可能的，
전담 템바디 남쟁기 유멤버
我听他不我们那些现在这些，那这种是可是你当的话是，那有两把下这个错车是还没是这些那么大的对吧？
알레 롱소.
对。
롱소. 치료관리야 단다디 전담 템바디 남쟁기 유 말에 소야 디 제르무 지 갑델이야 딘데 스콘데 예르왜.
这他不我们忙下的那，这种是么都是也嘛了呀，东西过的了，我也知道什么时候的小呀没多啊。
롱소.
现在有没着急别没是想我们现在，这是不行啊，这个是什么多的多少是那东西的要我电话再听一下，我这是那娱乐下的电话听，这是不是接受一些我说，
롱.
这么多朋友呀听的这三个有什么吧？
알레
他
롱소.
看上是天天的用是吧？
라레.
天天那个是天天的没是打工是吧？
알레 롱소. 이네 세텐 알아디 가요 말와 제르무 지 다와디 가요 말와.
现在呢，这不是他们村里面搞也早的，他那西家去，他现在讲的，啊，也没改善。
I just want to make sure I understand 100% right, otherwise I will be misrepresenting this. This is such a subject matter, and sometimes Geshe-la goes into his other things, and I have to bring him back. But I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. So what he has stated in the Golden Rosary at that point of time, right? Actually, at one point he thought that's it, right? And now there's different perspectives, right? When we think about what is definitive, interpretive, tangé, that gets so complicated, right? I mean, if we look from like he was already a Manjushri, how could he make that mistake? But we are looking him as an ordinary person who was born uneducated, then he was educated. He's kind of going through development stage, right? So at that point of time, because maybe that's quite popular, so he believed that, you know, and then he later realized he was wrong and he corrected himself, as a matter of fact. That's what they said at one point at a big monastery in Nyethang, Tibet, you know, when he was with assembly of monks. He completely got absorbed into this thing, and everybody left. So he was just alone in the Gomba for a long time, you know. So later he realized that he was wrong, you know, so he corrected himself. So that's why Geshe-la said that when we think in terms of Lama Tsongkhapa's many contributions from the Sutrayana point of view, his precise illustration of emptiness later in the works is one of his greatest contributions, clarifying that. And in terms of Tantra, his whole explanation of an illusory body, right? That before him, nobody ever thought about that, right? Understood that. So that's right, yeah.
Specifically about why this issue is, Geshe-la said
Yeah.
that usually it's not
For sidestep,
not
yeah.
addressed,
Yeah,
sidestep.
I asked that, yeah.
Why
is that
well,
right?
why, since many other issues are not sidestep,
Right, right.
and are addressed. Why
아래
this
익제
particular-
나리야 단다 베나긴 딱디 송어와 등상 간제 익제 나리 디코데 파수를 샤샤비 시구도 숨버와게 간제 익제 나리야 네된 디코리야 파직 당념으로 샤도 숨거와게 게다가 송송와 제가 디치고 말에 아니 익제 나리야 네된 샤바 간데 샤샤진데 요마르에 살레 간제 익제 되제 나
알레
다장 익제 나리 베나 단다 디 렉세 세데 나시죠 디다 등상 긴 다 익제 나리 시라 시기면도 공부를 앞세라 시상 누구도 송어와게
알레
제대 내된 샤바데조 가서 어디 맞아도 가려나서게
알레 다 대게 계시는 지당시는 맨 선행다 단다 고모라서 이거 따여서 희지 두고 말해. 뭐는 그니 시가 좀 여러.
맞네.
이거 개발세 뭐 여러.
나네.
네가 시면 두슬라로.
알레 셴네데 샤바데데 마셰바데 야마.
저거 강가데 시도 용어데 시다스나 어디 제대로 이게 선행나 들여 그 다 선행 가게 하고 여러.
나네.
그니 선행다 고모라서 믿어봐 여러데 텔레 믿으면 도세들 동조신이로 이게서도 요 말이 들라로.
Yeah, so what Geshe-la meant to say is that, of course, there could be other points, right, subtract. What he was bit, if I can use the word, amused by this is, right, because when we are looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's works, early works later, right, it makes sense to always bring them together, right, what Lama Tsongkhapa developmentally first thought, and now he corrected himself, right. Instead of doing that, right, they just kind of keep quiet on that one in the Golden Rosary, and then they just go along with the illustrating the thought. He thought that's a little, he thought we don't need to do that because those work is the same person, right, and it's connected. Yeah, that's what he meant. Yeah. Any other questions anybody has? Then we'll come back to, oh, yes. And please open the glass wall. I always want to say, like, Gorbachev, bring the wall down.
Thank you, guys. This goes back to the second question. The person's here. It's regarding the two truths being mutually exclusive. So he says, you said the two truths are mutually exclusive, but the Buddha sees both truths simultaneously. So they can't be mutually exclusive, he says. And so he's asking if you can explain that.
Okay, sure. But I like questions like that, very clear and like I don't want the whole paragraph, then I get confused too. There's too many questions packed into one paragraph. So thank you for asking a clear question there, translator thanking you. Quran this sigor, da yan tagi tiwa de mutin tan jeliya tanda temba ni de rawage. Ane ka namjo yongjo yinba ina sarwage. Ben tendan temba ina gunza temba shu lai shorwa. Demi yinba na ane sanje gi temba ni de tuichil chikza sigido wa di namjo yongjo mayinba tengyo marwesa. Temba ni de tuichil sigo rawasa. Sanje gi temba ni de tuichil sigi yeza namjo yongjo mayinba de tengyo marwesa gedi.
남주 유들해들 상계가 최다지 것을 전해라. kenje서 되게 가서 또 직도도 직쇼도 들어요 뭐 쇼탐지 벨라데다가 이시오라. 먼저 쇼레레 이시 서서도 내비가 또 좀 말아.
아니 시도 가다 상계 식단디 고 남자 용제 많이 책 말서.
다가 지당에서 그 kuzo demo ton zonzo demo keguri zonzo de kuzo keguri de namju yi de kai de layo mo de garsa pumba de kuzo demo ma namju ka zonzo demo namju keguri no pumba kuzo demo to uri so de la
ina da sanje gi tingi chikja to go sedi kala ani question that the tingi di rawage bena tenda demo ina kuzo demo mai ko ba kuzo demo tenda mai ko di re mindu sarwage sanje gi tingi chikja to go do wala gorda
ale de de rawale 도다가 사제가 쳐다니 어스가로 먼저 다 도스 추제래 가도가 계속 쉬어로 사제 쳐다니 오도 그 직도 직모도 계속 절 써봐야 말아
아니 산제 롱롱게지에 말보다
라
산제 롱롱게다 닌데 남들 지에 말아
사제 직도 세 되게 가요 말 쳐다니 도서 가로
ale so what Geshe-la is saying is that Buddha, right, maybe we could say is an enlightened being, sees everything non-conceptually and directly. That's exception to the rule, isn't it? We are not talking about mutually exclusive categories from omniscient point of view, right? Buddha doesn't need to alternate, right? Oh, I'm seeing emptiness. Okay, now I'm not seeing, right? Buddha sees everything together simultaneously and non-conceptually. When we talk about mutually exclusive categories, right, that's from our cognitive point of view, where if we see emptiness, we cannot see the other one. If we see the conventional one, we can't see, right? We are alternating it, isn't it? For the Buddha, it is exception to the rule because it's already omniscient and there are no obstructions to be able to see the true truth at the same time. Yeah.
有什么是你的到一个题目在里了嘛？
Geshe-la said, yeah, we can easily say these two truths are mutually exclusive, but really to be able to realize it, it requires a lot of thinking, and right, it's not easy like we just said it, you know. Right, to be able to realize, understand the two truths are mutually exclusive, we have to think a lot. You know. So I think we will stop there. You will tell today. Hello. Okay. Yes. Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you. So Geshe-la was helping here to explain something, right, which might help with that. You know, when we say that the two truths are mutually exclusive categories, that's from sort of objective point of view, right? Categories there. But now in terms of, from cognitive point of view, there could be a difference, right? So if objectively two things are mutually exclusive, Buddha should see that. Buddha cannot erase the right exclusive that. But from a perceptual or cognitive point of view, that things can be different. For example, what we are talking about, Namjo Yongjo, which is hard to translate in English, is that if you say, for example, if you see the emptiness of a vase, on the other side, the appearance of the vase ceases to exist, isn't it? When you see the appearance of a vase, then the emptiness of the vase, right, it's it's not like you're refuting it, it blocks, it stays. That's what we do. So from perceptual point of view, from objective point of view, that's difference. That's what Geshe-la thought. That might help, right, to clarify the things. Because if we mix those two things, then, you know, things are not clear. So I appreciate his, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh. Already. Ani? Hello. Sure, one already. Whatever. Couple of reactions to words. Whatever. Ready. Another thing that Geshe-la thought, maybe one of the questions was where, the way I understood it, the question came to me is that before Nagarjuna, did no one understand emptiness, right? And then Geshe-la answered is no, because Buddha came before Nagarjuna, so how could he be, right? But Geshe-la thought the question probably was, because we always say that Nagarjuna, from Prasangika point of view, Nagarjuna is the first person who elucidated emptiness, right, according to the Prasangika school of thought, right? And so wasn't there anybody else, right, who understood emptiness according to Prasangika before him? I think it comes to the same thing, right? And so the answer to that question is yes, there were others who understood emptiness, right, as Prasangika explained before Nagarjuna, but they had that ability to understand on their own, so they didn't need Nagarjuna to explain to them. Nagarjuna came to explain things for people who don't understand it, right? So he illustrated it. So that's the clarification. Yeah. Okay. We have some prayer requests, I believe.
Tungi chomju shungi ministo kene tsele deba nga ngwen sarwa khazi chinda gebe tar nyu tsagula chawndwa ani kongi pardi khazi ne chujom kana ya dudibur kongr ani kongi chedu tungi mutune naro nas khazan koran chongengi pudi khazan de lesh ani di shegu soyanda chuzol gu songra nasine khazan dus nga so ani chongen koran ta ani kranz nami chazan ya ani tungme naro nas shuesh de dine tsedan temba 자신 좀 아니 근데 티도기 돌이야 면주 치규서래 어디 니시승다 용에다 간조차에 돌이야 통면 나르나스 prayer requests today for those who have recently passed are requested for Ngang Nguyen, who passed away on August 29th. Her family requested that we leave her picture on the altar, and it's been there for the past few weeks in the corner there. And she passed away on August 29th, so continued prayers for Ngang Nguyen. Her son, Quang Tran, came yesterday to request 49-day prayers, which will be in a few weeks. And so prayers also for Quang Tran and their family, along with Ngang Nguyen, for all of those who have recently passed, may they be free from all suffering and purified of all negative karma accumulated since beginningless times. May they be reborn with all precious freedoms and endowments. May they meet the Dharma and a qualified guru and quickly achieve liberation and enlightenment. Prayers for those who are still with us today are requested for Tashi Dromo, who is undergoing treatment for gallstones. So please keep Tashi Dromo in your prayers, along with Tashi Dromo. May all sentient beings be free from all obstacles, hardship, and negative karma. May their wishes and prayers be fulfilled. May they be guided by the blessings of the three jewels, and may they experience everlasting peace and happiness.
So we will do first Avalokiteshvara praise and mantra, and then we will do the, I think, Medicine Buddha praise and mantra. Chadong Golun Juven, Yewo Don, Jendong, Kiewa Sangbe, Sangye Dong, Kangla Kangdu, Dela Dedem, Jemba Jenre Sela, Chanzen de Omani Peme, Hong Omani Peme, Omani Peme, Omani Peme. Omani Beme Hori, Gawa Di, Nyodo Da, Jere Sewan, Rubjo Nem, Dowa Chijam, Di Salam Sho, Tuji Kunla Nyombe, Jomdende, Senzan Tebe, Nindu Dunge Sen, Duson Esen. Bindu ye vela janze do om namo bhagavate begaze guru bindu ya tabaranza ya tadagada ya arahate samya sambuddha ya teta om begaze ma begaze ranza samugade ye so teta om begaze ma begaze ranza samugade.
대담 배관전 배관전 만 배관전 배관전 란저 삼봉과대 수와 겨와디 뇨도다 멤베 제원 로조는 로와 제자 the Salang show page 3 of this booklet. Lord Yazu Yudon Bega de Gasan Pove Judo Memba Shin Temba Zinla Wando Jizu Tanya Chugun Jola So one de page 5. Mawan Dame Gunjan Donga de Kari Jonzo Ninda Sezeba Jamgun Jawa Niba Yapse Tanzo Dinzi Mabe Shiba Zu Dinjin Jebe Kingbon Zebe Cheje Nigun Changju Dendu Longdo Tamje Bebe Peyu Deja Yazu Gundo Shabden Sho Tezang Kongdan Chezu Zombe Yongzo Yuren Tobe Nyage Shin Longri Dejen Nebe Bed Tubden Kari Dambo Shaden So Dona Komen Zeba Namda Gun Dendang Rube Pende Jo Lundo Jimi Chibe Chile Je Kesan Duje Lundo Shab Chizu Lame Tuje Melanda Kesan Duje Dendang Sam Chozon Dodo Jido Domba Ye Jeda Membe Dungu Lundo Show page 9. Ramja Jinge Gombo Zeba Men Zodo Namje Geyun Drama Jo Chozo Zeye Lazo Tamje Tade Mishi Shoge Ngodo So Tubden Jedang Losan Yang Shero Denban Zembe Beyun Je Tade Lije Gyungwe Yangju Ninje Gombo Shabden Sho Jiden Sumgwe Chana Bemen Ru Denben Zawa Soso Tawa Namda Sudin Yangda Lamba Ye Losan Jenden Bedo Shabden Tujo Yazen, Nonze, Yangbe, Samjo, Namje, Sanzin, Jumbe, Bonjo, Shela, Sonjo, Debe, Dembe, Nada, Chenbo, Shabde, Chebe, Donga, Goa, Bojo, Zembe, Delan, Siyu, Bonda, Zembe, Dunden, Lishe, Kejo, Xinye, Chenbo, Shabden, Sho, Kebe, Langdo, Goshe, Zeta, Zembe, Tara, Niezo, Rangza, Sangbe, Duje, Deguen, Somden Xinyin Jingbo Xiaoden Shu Tesang Rongla Zhube Den Mianzhong Dajue Zangme Sijin Ba Lajian Zidin Dendu Besh Senden Xinyin Jingbo Xiaoden Shu Zhozong Yawa Siji Jinla Dang Tongden Tangjin Songmen Sonang Je Tasha Lasang Dang Chida Menben Dung Lun Du Shu Changzhu Simzhu Rinpo Je Maje Banan Jeju Je Jewa Nyamba Gone Gondo Pewa Sho Dongni Dawa Rinpo Je Maje Bana Yeju Je Jewa Nyamba Gone Gondo Pewa Sho Sa Shi Beijing Joshi Mendo Zhang Rira Lingxi Ninde Yenba Sangje Shinto Mende Wewa Dogun Nanda Xingla Jeba Sho Kari Rabe Korbe Xingang Zo Pendang Dewa Mali Jombe Jere Zewang Dinzin Ya Shabe Sidien Bado Denju Ji Yedang Guru Rana Niyang Daya Min Yawa Gundo Yangda Lama Dan Deme Chöji Bela Lonju Sada Lamye Yunde Razo Nen Doji Changi Goba Nyundo Sho